You're listening to The Lyndia Grant Show. Think on these things with Lyndia Grant.
Good evening, Radio 1 listeners. Thank you for tuning in to The Lyndia Grant Show here on Spirit 1340 WYCB, the oldest gospel radio station in the nation, and it is the first contemporary gospel outlet in the United States. Today is Friday, January 26, 2024, and we're happy you've joined us today. We've got some exciting guests, as we always do. We're helping my friend and high school alum to promote his play, which celebrates the life of Zora Neale Hurston. And it is his 40th anniversary of multimedia CEO Lynn Dyson. First, though, let's hear from Dr. Julianne Malvo, our first guest. She is going to talk a little bit about politics and the economy. She's a speaker extraordinaire, author, and she travels all over the place. And so we're just excited that she's a former president and dean, and with Rainbow Push. So we go right to Dr. Julianne Malvo.
Well, greetings, Lyndia. I want to learn more about that play, so you'll have to send me an email or something about it. Zora Neale Hurston is one of my favorites. Her eyes were wide shut. So
yes.
Give your colleague my congratulations, and perhaps I'll have an opportunity to see the play.
Mm-hmm.
Now, meanwhile, you know, your listeners know that we get started early in the week, and so it's Tuesday, and what are we all looking at? New Hampshire. Mm-hmm. It looks like Nikki Haley is giving the Orange Man a run for his money, but I don't think she's going to win it. They only have about 15% of the vote in now, but she's leading in some of these counties in New Hampshire, so that's exciting. I'm not a big Nikki Haley fan at all, but I do like her energy and her spunk, and she does not back down from the Orange Man or his colleagues. So that just kind of makes me smile to watch this. Now, what comes after? She says that she's going to be in it. She's going to be in it through South Carolina and beyond, and she's got some big money behind her. And if she comes in close enough to Trump or beats him, very unlikely that she'll beat him. But if she comes close enough, they're going to continue to fund her. So what happens after New Hampshire? Then we have Nevada and the Virgin Islands. Those are small delegate states, and they're organized. Well, at least Nevada's organized kind of weirdly. They have a caucus and a primary. Haley is in one, and Orange Man is in another. So I'm not sure how we interpret that. But then on South Carolina, that's a biggie. That's her state. It's February 24th. Then we go to Super Tuesday, and there are about 8 primaries Super Tuesday, and most of them are winner take all, and that's on March 5th. So the politics just keeps on going. Now, speaking of the politics, we go back. Now, it was quite amusing. I was amused. I don't know if you were, that Senator Tim Scott, of course, endorsed the Orange Man, but his endorsement was something out of a minstrel show. It really was. He had the temerity to quote Fannie Lou Hamer. The American people are sick and tired of being sick and tired. And he sucked and drived and grinned and whatever. You know, Nikki Haley appointed him to the to the United States Senate in South Carolina. He's been a senator since 2013. She broke some rules by choosing him. But there he is, and he has not been of any help, frankly, to black people. He single-handedly blocked the resolution on the George Floyd Justice Act. But, you know, there he was, sucking and driving and doing what he does. And I just had to laugh. But the other laugh on Tim Scott is this. The man is 57 years old. There's nothing wrong with that. We older. But for the first time, he's getting engaged. Now, I'm wondering if he's doing that because he wants to be vice president. Because a lot of people are saying he's trying to be vice president. If you waited this long to get engaged and you dated somebody for less than a year and now you're getting engaged, okay, I'm gossiping. That's not what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to talk about politics and economics. But I'm just saying, couldn't help it. And, of course, since we were together last, DeSantis, of course, has dropped out. So it is a two-person race between Nikki Haley and the Orange Man. And what can we say? It's fascinating. I don't think that she can pull it off. Some of these Trump people are just rabidly pro-Trump, rabidly. So I don't think that she can pull it off. But she's giving him a run for his money, and she doesn't back down. What we notice about all these others, except for Chris Christie, is that they back down. DeSantis, refused to criticize Trump. Scott shilly-shallied. Ramaswamy, he said he was Trump Jr. So anyway, here we are. This is going to be it's going to either be a long political season or a short one. It depends. I'm interested to see what happens. People were urging people to write in President Biden on the Democratic side because he doesn't appear on the Democratic ballot from this week. And so I'm interested to see what he gets with that, if there's a groundswell for that. Now, speaking of let's keep talking about politics. And, this week, Monday, was the 51st anniversary of Roe versus Wade. This was the legislation that made it possible for people to have abortions. People have been chipping away at that legislation ever since, to the point that Dobbs has outlawed abortion. The Biden-Harris team have made abortion a centerpiece of their reelection campaign. And on Monday, both of them gave very fiery speeches about a woman's right to choose. I was basically proud of both of them. Kamala was great. She really was. And Biden was also very, very strong. But what we know about abortion law is that states are chipping away at it, to the point, Lyndia, last month in December, a black woman, her name was Brittany Watts, she was arrested because she had a miscarriage. Arrested. She had gone to the hospital twice. First time she went, she was bleeding heavily. They said that she had her water had broken. No, her water was gone, so there was no amniotic fluid. So they said that the baby was dead. So she's carrying a dead baby, and they were arguing. The doctor and the doctor argued about the morality of inducing an abortion. They had her waiting for 8 hours, so she went home. Came back the next day, still bleeding, and they kept her for a very long time yet again. She went home, and she miscarried. And not to gross your listeners out, but basically she sat down on the pot, and the baby expelled. She went back to the hospital because she had to have a placenta removed. One of the nurses called the police, and she was arrested.
Wow.
Now, on January, a couple of weeks ago, the grand jury said they would not indict her. But imagine, you've lost your child, you're sick, you're in pain, and you got to go to jail. She was facing up to a year in jail and up to a $3,500 fine. So even as we have a Democratic team that's passionate about a woman's right to choose, and it's about a woman's right to choose, it's not they say you're passionate about abortion, but you've got this team that's passionate about that, and then you have these kind of evil acts. I call them evil acts. This was in the state of Ohio, but it could happen in any state. So we just have to keep our eyes on the prize, which is what we did not do to allow these kind of things to take place.
Mm-hmm.
We saw the death of Dexter King.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
The younger son of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Mrs. Coretta Scott King. He was the sibling who was in charge of the King estate. There was a little controversy, of course, some years ago when the siblings were suing each other, but they basically came back together and got along, and we know that for any number of ways. I just want to have a shout out and say how wonderful a man he was, but also what kind of trauma would you have had to live through to see both of your parents gone, but your dad assassinated, finding out about it on television before you knew about it from your mother. So we mourn his loss. He died from prostate cancer. And brothers who are listening, y'all check yourselves out. That's all. Check yourselves out. We talked about the Orange Man, and let's talk about him a little more. His lawsuits are still churning through the courts. He went to court last week where Jean Carroll, the woman who was a columnist for Elle magazine, and she's suing him for defamation. He said he didn't know her. She says he raped her. One jury has already awarded her $5 million, but even if they awarded him the money, then he kept talking ugly about her. So he's still defaming her. Anyway, that case is there. And then there's the case in Georgia where you have 19 co-conspirators with the Orange Man with a RICO case for racketeering. And the racketeering was dealing with election results. Now, this case seemed to have been going along well. Fannie Willis, the prosecutor, had gotten at least 3 people to cooperate to testify, and, she was working her way through it. But now there is a monkey wrench. One of the indicted co-conspirators has said that because Fannie Willis and one of her counsel, Nathan Wade, have a relationship, the case should be thrown out. Well, first of all, no one has confirmed that there is an intimate relationship. They may well be. Nathan Wade's wife, who seems to be very vindictive, went through his credit card statements and found that he and Fannie Willis have traveled together twice, once to, I believe, Aruba, and once to the West Coast, and he purchased the tickets. So what this guy is alleging is that since he purchased the tickets with money that he was paid for to work on the Trump case, this is a conflict of interest for Fannie Willis. I disagree, and the lawyers are on all sides of this. I'll say one thing first. It's very bad optics. It's very bad optics. I like Fannie Willis's energy. I don't know her. I like her energy. I think she's been doing a really great job. But she may have done all this work for naught if they decide that she has to be recused. The wife has called her as a witness in their divorce case. Now, understand, Nathan Wade was separated from his wife if there was a relationship, when the relationship began. And I say if because we don't know. We weren't there. But, but lawyers are saying it looks bad. George is very conservative. They could easily throw her. They could either ask her to step down or throw the case out. Now, if this brother were a gallant, if he were a gentleman, he's the one who needs to step down. He could excuse himself. She could find a replacement. She has said that this is racist, and there are aspects of it that are, because the people who are raising questions are questioning his qualifications. Well, she has appointed 3 people to work on this case. No one is questioning the other 2, who happen to be Caucasian. They say he's been paid too much.
Well, we're out of time. We're out of time, Dr. J. Yeah, we're all the way up to 14 minutes.
I'm sorry. Well, you got me wound up here today.
That was good. That was good, though. That's why I didn't say anything. Thank you so much, Dr. J. We might not get it all in, but we hope that everybody heard that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.
All right, we go to a commercial break, and we'll be back in a moment.
If it wasn't for my care coach at AmeriHealth, I probably wouldn't be so healthy right now. As a man, we don't get checkups or see a doctor regularly anyways. It's probably just a man thing because none of my partners go either. We know we should, but we just don't, and hope it works out.
So what changed for you?
AmeriHealth assigned me a care coach, somebody that gives one-on-one help, answer questions, explain things, and help set my appointments. She also helped me understand what having high blood pressure really means and ways to manage it so it doesn't kill me. It ain't nothing to play with. If you're a member of AmeriHealth, ask for a care coach. I'm glad I got mine.
At AmeriHealth, if you need a care coach, you can have one. Just call us at 1-877-759-6224 to get connected. 1-877-759-6224. This program is funded in part by the government of the District of Columbia Department of Healthcare Finance. Mayor Muriel Bowser.
Washington and former religion columnist Lyndia Grant.
Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on a segregated Montgomery bus. In lectures on brotherhood, Ms. Parks often said, "People always say that I didn't give up my seat because I was tired. But that wasn't true. I was not tired physically. I was not old. I was 42. No, the only tired I was tired of giving in." Driven out of Montgomery by harassment and death threats, Detroit, Michigan became her new home. Rosa Parks will always be remembered as the mother of the civil rights movement. Raised in the AME church, she once said, "I remember finding such comfort and peace while reading the Bible."
Read more in the religion column of the Washington Informer, an award-winning African-American newspaper. We don't report crime or gossip, just positive news. Pick up the Washington Informer or visit us online at washingtoninformer.com. Call 202-561-4100 for more information.
This is Frank Smith with the African American Civil War Museum in Washington, D.C., located at 1925 Vermont Avenue Northwest on the Green Line. Did you know that a recent study found that children who visit museums do better in school and in life than children who do not? So parents, teachers, and preachers, let's get moving. I promise you, if you bring your children to the African American Civil War Museum, they will be inspired by the images that they see. They will be impressed by our living history reenactors who are always available, and they will be involved in our scavenger hunt that takes them throughout our exhibit. That's the African American Civil War Museum, 1925 Vermont Avenue. Our hours are 10 to 6:30 on weekdays, 12 to 4 on Saturdays and Sundays. See it, be inspired.
Thank you for listening to the Lyndia Grant Show. Now we're going to do our second guest, part 2. Now that we've had our commercial break, we are talking with Len Dyson. Dyson is the CEO of Multimedia. He's going to talk to you about that. But he feels like he's a native Washingtonian. I'm going to give you a short intro on him. He was born in New York City, lived in a few years in Virginia, and eventually came to Washington, D.C. in 1962. He was 10 years old. He graduated from McKinley High School and Howard University School of Communications while a trainee at the D.C. Black Repertory Company. He came up through the ranks there as a professional actor, instructor, community relations director, and ultimately the executive director under the revamped Rep Incorporated. When he left the Rep in 1982, he founded Multimedia Training, and this is their 40th anniversary. It's Multimedia Training Institute, based on the format of the D.C. Black Repertory Theater. Instead of training in the theater, he was training in the media arts and digital production. Mr. Dyson is now ready to pass the baton to some of his trainees, and he presently is working in the investment real estate arena at a real estate firm. He is committed to empowering youth and young adults in the media arts to speak truth to power and justice for all people. I just want to let the listeners know that he is also a former classmate of mine. We graduated from McKinley Tech together. So I just want to welcome Len to the show. He's got a play coming up called Zora. He's going to tell you all about it, and he's got a couple of his actors. Welcome to the show again, Len Dyson.
Thank you, dear. How are you, Lydia? So great to be here with you again. We were here when we did the Shirley Chisholm play.
Yes. I'm excited to have you back.
Yes. So just a lot of great stuff happening. It's our 40th anniversary. We're opening a new space called the New Cultural Cafe at Studio W, the only performing arts space in Ward 7, so we're excited about that. And I have here today with me Ms. Tandria Reeves, who's playing the role of Zora in our new play, on Zora Neale Hurston, and Mr. Chris Martin, who is going to be playing several roles, Langston Hughes, Elaine Locke, and Richard Wright. So those names should be very familiar to you from the Harlem Renaissance era. Mm-hmm. And, this woman, Zora Neale Hurston, people didn't know about her. She did die in obscurity, poverty, all of that. But Alice Walker revived her memory and her writings, and now she's recognized as one of the most prolific writers in the 20th century. She's an artist, she's an anthropologist, she is all of those things, and so we're excited about bringing that to the stage, and I will let Miss Tandria Reeves say a few words about her role and what this role means to her and what taking on such a gigantic shoes of Zora means to her.
Absolutely. Hello, Lydia. Thank you so much for having me on the show. It has definitely been an honor to be cast as Zora Neale Hurston. As Lynn was just saying, this play is definitely going to take you through the early stages of Zora's life, all the way through history. It's going to show you the good, bad, and the ugly. There's going to be some funny laughs. And I'm just ready to show everybody such a great time during this, weeks that we have to be on stage. And for me, what this means for me to play Zora Neale Hurston, it's an honor. I mean, she was an iconic writer. I'm enjoying the character development and finding out so many interesting facts about her life and the relationships that she had with all of the other writers whom you will hear about in the play. So it is just an honor, and I can't wait for everyone to see it.
All right. Who else do you have in the cast?
And Mr. Chris, you there are a number of relationships that Zora had, and each one of these gentlemen that you'll be playing, you could write a whole book and a story on them alone. They were giants in their professions. Langston Hughes, everybody knows him. A lot of people know Richard Wright. You may not know as much about Elaine Locke, but if you are Howard University or you are academia and scholarship, you would know about him. So tell us, Chris, about these three iconic figures you're going to play, and what does that mean to you?
Well, it means a whole lot because I love history, and I'm learning a lot about Locke and Langston. I didn't know much about Langston, but I knew pretty much about Richard Wright. And it's like all the studying and character development I've been doing is like a time machine. It's taking me back into time. And these gentlemen wrote the same way some people write today, in a sense, just a little more of quote unquote the classical English. But the experience I have of playing them is kind of like being them, and living their life. And it's like it's interesting how the racism that they went through and how common lynching was, and oh man, it's just a lot.
And how they prevailed, huh?
Yes, and how they survived. And it's interesting how they survived, and we're complaining about surviving now.
Right.
But all I can say is it is an enlightening experience to study and to become Langston Hughes, Elaine Locke, and Richard Wright, and Herbert Sheen.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Okay. Well, let me
That's
just
Zora
ask.
Neale's first husband.
Oh, okay. But let me ask Lynn and all of you all we only have a 30-minute show. I want to make sure you tell people how to get tickets and where they come and all of that.
Yeah, the new performing arts space is called the New Cultural Cafe at Studio W. We're at 5073 East Capitol Street, Southeast. Everybody knows where the shrimp boat is, right? So it's up the street from the shrimp boat. That's the landmark. And we'll have secured parking, so there's no issues about that. And it's an 80-seat studio and black box theater and video studio, so we're excited about that. And people can go to our website, mmtidc.org, or you can give us a call at 202-464-5020. So let me say that website again, mmtidc.org. You can go there for tickets, or you can call 202-464-5020. And Lydia, this is, when you talk about black history, this is a serious, serious black history lesson. Zora Neale Hurston, Langston Hughes, Elaine Locke, and Richard Wright. You have the Harlem Renaissance in your face, but you also have an anthropologist and social scientist like Zora Neale Hurston, who went beyond the Harlem Renaissance.
I love all of them. We don't have enough time because I have information I could talk about Zora Neale Hurston when I was in college and having to read her book and doing the street naming for Langston Hughes. I think it was Langston Hughes right there in D.C. But anyway, I wanted to thank you all for being my guest today and just want to see if you have any closing comments before I go to my close.
Well, I just want everybody to come out and support a new performing arts facility, but also to support Black History Month, support the legend of Zora Neale Hurston and Elaine Locke and Richard Wright and Langston Hughes. Come out and support it. Bring your family. It will be quite an entertaining, educational lesson for Black History Month and National Women's Month. The play runs from February 15th to the end of March. And again, you can get your tickets at 202-464-5020. Thank you so much, Lydia.
Thank you. And I just want to say Multimedia does some fantastic productions. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you'll get copies of the Lyndia Grant Show every week. It'll just show up on your computer. Read my column, the Washington Informer newspaper, every week. I've been writing that now for 19 years. And I invite you to come out and join us at my church, which is the All Nations Baptist Church, located at 2 Rhode Island Avenue Northeast, Washington, D.C. We have our weekly services. They're short, and we invite you to come out and join us at 10:45 a.m. Our pastor is the Reverend Dr. James Coleman. Thank you for tuning in to today's show to hear Dr. Julian Malvo and Len Dyson as he talked about his play called Zora, and I'm so thrilled that he had some of his cast. I close every week with these words. Words, thoughts, and deeds have a boomerang effect, so be careful what you send out. Scripture says, my people perish for the lack of knowledge. Philippians 4:6 says, think on these things. From the Lyndia Grant Show, I'm your host, Lyndia Grant. Until next week, good day.
Thank you for listening to the Lyndia Grant Show. Think on these things with your host, Lyndia Grant.